Hi, you're with Peter Carr on LTV's The Research Channel. Well, today we're crossing back to the United States. Yesterday we were in Santa Clara at the 9th International Cloud Expo, and today we're in San Jose at the Hitachi Influencer Summit 2011. So we're going to cross over to Scott now. Scott, and you're with Asim Zaheer, who's the Vice President of Corporate and Product Marketing for Hitachi. So welcome, gentlemen.
Yes, good day, Peter. How are you going?
Yeah, well, thank you. So what's the news of the day?
We had a fantastic day today at the inaugural Hitachi Data Systems Influencer Summit, and so there was analysts, and there was even a table here reserved for bloggers, which I thought was just kind of really interesting. Who else was here, Asim?
We had some financial analysts as well.
Yep, had some equity analysts. Was any media at all here today?
No media, mostly analyst community.
Okay. It was a great day. I was very impressed, very well organized, very informative. There was just so much content. And for me, it was a great learning experience about Hitachi Data System, or HDS. There was a lot of stuff I didn't know that they did, and so it was really informative. It was just great.
So within the region, HDS is very well known for its storage story, its networking capacity and capability, but also obviously heavily involved behind the scenes in a lot of enterprise application work that goes on in large organisations. So was that the continuing theme of the influencer event this year, or is HDS starting to move in different directions?
Sure, good question. Well, by the mere fact that storage is becoming so much more ubiquitous, and the fact that storage and application and infrastructure, the whole hypervisor layer from companies like VMware, all of that is converging in some sense, and there's a lot more touch points. And so HDS has certainly established itself as a storage company, but we are much more seriously looking at this whole burgeoning element called data analytics, the whole notion of information cloud, which we talked quite a bit about at this event. And so we do work quite a bit and have integrations and interoperability with major enterprise class applications just by the mere fact of for what we do. But what we're also trying to do, and we talked a lot about this at the event, is we want to establish independence for data and information from applications. And the reason we want to do that is because applications, they're growing by the thousands each month, and they're coming and going. And so what you want is some level of independence for the data so that you can access that information or that data years into the future when applications may be gone that originally wrote it and stored it. Right. And so that notion of having hooks into applications such that you can effectively store information and protect it and retrieve it, but also make it independent enough such that the application could go away and you make that information or that piece of data available, easily accessible, searchable, so you can get to it in the future. And so we talked quite a bit about that at the event. And so yes, we are involved in a number of things beyond simply storage. And there's also a big consultative element of all this. And so we have professional services and consulting capability to work with large companies. We're doing this around the globe and in Australia as well, to help them figure all this out, because it isn't simple, it's complicated.
Yeah, sure. So Scott, if I can ask you, we're obviously seeing a lot of activity around this notion of big organisations trying to get their head around how to manage data in motion as opposed to data at rest. And obviously data at rest has played into what the traditional storage market is. So how have you seen Hitachi address some of those topics today?
Yeah, we definitely saw, I saw a lot of strategy and a lot of vision, which, I was very impressed with. And wasn't, there was still the elements of the product discussion here today, but they very much drilled down into assisting enterprises in dealing with big data and things like that. And a lot of people are seeing that the big data is, cloud. It's not really. It's actually the fact that we propagate our, our corporate data, even our email and our systems and the silos that we replicate. So they I was really impressed with the strategic thinking and the vision around, their goal is to separate the data completely from all applications. And even today, there was a recurring theme that, let's have one data layer across the entire world, where all the data is basically on a single layer, and all the applications, they're separated from the data. And, that sounds very visionary, and, can it be achieved? I mean, it probably can't be achieved. And that's probably one question I was going to ask Sim in relation to a lot of the legacy enterprise IT systems. That goal, that vision is probably not attainable for some of the existing IT. So, we're talking about remediation of these systems. It's a very ambitious goal.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's large data and information stores out there today, with legacy applications and systems. And so over time, if you want to put them into this application as well as storage media independent realm, because that's another element that we talked about, which is fluid data. It's not married to any particular spinning disk necessarily, or SSD even. It moves, dynamically based on access patterns, and so it's not even married to a particular box or a device. So in order to do that with legacy data and information, I think what will happen over time is you want that to some extent converted into standard file formats, and so that's work that systems and solutions like in the content management space can do. So you can do mass file conversions and then digitally archive those. But if it's transactional data, real-time access data, I think that's a more complicated issue. And so I think those systems will evolve, in a longer time horizon as those applications then get migrated, and or content is no longer necessary. Then it can get converted and archived and moved into this fluid common pool.
Scott, can I just jump in there? So a question that we're seeing a fair bit. More and more vendors are coming out with the appliance today. So if we look at whether it's cloud-based appliances like vBlock with the Cisco EMC VMware partnership, or going back to what you were saying before about the big data appliance, whether you're looking at these big data analytics appliances like Exadata from Oracle that has the storage built in with the analytical capability, Netezza, Plumtree with EMC, SAP and their HANA device. Are we going to see some kind of partnership between HDS and some other vendors in this appliance space? Yeah,
well, we are already doing work around converged solutions, if you will, which is what the vBlock configuration is all about. We are working actively, we talked about it today, with SAP, and we're actively involved in the HANA project. We're doing a lot of work with Microsoft and Hyper-V in creating integrated configurations and solutions that are then orchestrated vertically, along the stack all the way from hypervisor to networking component to server to storage. So we are doing some of that work today. We do have sort of packaged configurations similar to vBlock that we've made available. We have hooks into applications, as I mentioned. But it all depends on the customer's consumption model. So our approach is not to lock them into a proprietary configuration either. So there's no silver bullet, silver box that's going to solve all their problems. What we are focused on is making infrastructure easy to consume. So if they want to consume it in a simple packaged approach, we can do that. So we have configurations that are integrated vertically, like I described, that you can acquire from us, and we'll provide you services to get that integrated into your environment. Also, we don't lock you into any particular vendor's networking component, for example. We'll qualify different vendors' components within that converged offering. We will have integrations with VMware as well as Hyper-V. But the special sauce around all of this, when it comes to what we call unified compute, is orchestration. So being able to orchestrate the entire set of componentry from a single user interface. And so that's what we're working on, that we've actually talked about openly in the market, in our development labs here in the United States, is to provide an orchestration layer that allows you to basically glue all of those pieces together and manage them and provision all the elements within that stack through an orchestration layer. That's where we're really focusing our efforts. We have physical infrastructure packages, converged offerings, like the other companies in this space as well. So long answer, but I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, sure. So look, well, thanks very much for joining us today, Scott. We're kind of getting towards a wrap up here, but based on what you've seen today, is there some bottom line here or some recommendations for our clients around the HDS suite at this point in time?
Yes, I think definitely. I think that they're definitely worth a very close look. I think I heard HDS described today as the VMware of storage, and but I think that is I can understand that description, but I think they have far more to offer. I think that they have an opportunity in this sort of disruptive market to really find their place and bring out some thought leadership in helping the large enterprise or even medium enterprise CIOs to deal with their sort of conglomerated systems. And they have the ability to come in. It's not a rip and replace, which is always the biggest concern about you're heavily invested with a particular vendor. I think they're definitely worth a look for perhaps coming in and remediating pieces of your infrastructure in a roadmap strategic approach to moving from where you are today to where you want to be, and particularly introducing cloud transformation, application remediation, separating the data from the application to give you much more portability. Yeah, there's just a wealth of surprises that are in the HDS offering, which I was really impressed today. I didn't know a lot about what they had to offer, and I thought it was definitely worth a further look.
Okay, so it sounds like even outside the product stack, there's some potential good strategic consulting solution, in terms of different approaches to addressing some of these cloud problems, big data analytics problems that organisations might have. So that's probably a good takeaway.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is that what we often overlook is that their integration with Hitachi. So they mentioned today that the Hitachi professional service, or the Hitachi Consulting, was being integrated into the HDS offering. So that just sort of adds a great deal of strength. But I was going to ask Asim, in relation to the Australian market, do you have any grasp of just how the depth of that in APAC, that Hitachi Consulting?
Yeah, well, Hitachi's Consulting is a piece of the Hitachi portfolio that we're starting to work much more closely with. And so they have professional consultants who have deep expertise in various areas of IT. And so we're applying that here in the United States to some extent. But actually, as it relates to Australia, one of the presentations that was made today was from our Senior Vice President of Services and Support, Hisham Abdesamad. He talked about a lot of consultative services to enable customers to move into the cloud, for example, or do major transformation projects. And that's what existing HDS professional services people today. And we have that skill and capability in Australia. We're actually working with a large number of customers there doing that today, independent of Hitachi Consulting. And so one of the other things that we talked quite a bit about today, you made the VMware comment. That is a bit limiting, really, in terms of what we do. We do virtualized storage to some extent, sort of in the same way that VMware is known for virtualizing servers. But we're so much more than that. We're 50% of our company's revenues are in services and software, and those services and software entail a lot of different things, from block storage systems and devices to unstructured data management capabilities, services capabilities that I just described. So we're certainly much more than simply a virtualization company, although that is one of our special sauces, if you will. It's the foundation for everything we talked about today. But all the breadth of all of our capabilities are more than available in the Australia market.
Okay, great. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. I know it's late in the day for you both there, so with that, I guess we can expect to see some some more movement, some more information in the local market around HDS, and especially with regards to software and services. So again, Asim, Scott, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
See you guys.